Sachs would like to recite a poem for peace at the end of the podcast. He's gone totally soft. The pacifist, David Sachs.
No, I'd like to address what you said when you called me a pacifist, because I think.
Oh my God! Here we go. After hours. This is all in after dark. Here we go.
He's an existential pacifist.
Go ahead, Sachs. Read your poem.
When did I become a pacifist? Well, I'm not really look, I still believe in the idea of peace through strength, like Reagan said. Okay. But I remember when what is the only clean win that we've had in a war since World War II? America has.
Clean, it was the win, straight shot. Clean
the first
win.
Iraq war when we drove Saddam out of Kuwait. That was George Herbert Walker Bush.
Our last conventional war.
Well, it was also the last war that we actually won. Every other war that we've done has been turned into a fiasco.
Winning was pretty easy to define. Get out of Kuwait. The other ones we were trying to do revolutions.
But remember, everybody wanted him to go all the way and march into Baghdad and change the regime, replace Saddam. And he said no. And he had the wisdom to stop. And everybody called him a wimp. But he still had the determination and the wisdom to stop. And then what happened? His son comes in 10 years later, and they finish the job.
Yeah.
They take out Saddam and they destabilize the entire Middle East. That's what the iron ass has got us. So what has turned me against these regime change wars? Look, when I was in college, I thought Herbert Walker Bush was a wimp, and George W. Bush was doing the right thing going into Iraq 20 years ago. But we've seen the results. And anybody today who doesn't modify their point of view on these regime change wars is a fool. I mean, they're not paying attention. And so for Lindsey Graham and, these other guys out there a lot of Republicans to be talking about regime change as something we should be seriously promoting, they've totally lost the script and they should be denounced as reckless, dangerous fools. And look, I'm seeing it on both sides of the aisle, but what we need to do now, listen, if it ends up being the case that the Russian people want to make a change, that's up to
their
them.
call.
That's their call.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm not opposing something that they might want to do, but for the idea that should be our goal, that's our end game, that's our objective, that is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, we'll just wind up getting in a perpetual war. Then when we leave, it'll revert. And that's what we saw. It reverts back to communism or authoritarianism. The people have to really want it. Revolutions are hard fought and bloody. And if you think you can just go in there with a couple of drones and get everybody to decide, we embrace democracy from this point forward because you drone the hell out of the country, is farcical. And it's proven to be wrong. 100% agreement with you.
No ceasefire is going to be possible. I mean, it's going to be hard enough as it is to get anything remotely like a deal, but it's not even going to be possible if you've defined regime change as your objective.
It's a way to dig Putin in. Like, that's literally what he wants to, that you're giving him all the pretext he needs to keep this thing going, if it's self-preservation. Right. All right, everybody, there's your overtime. Sax's writers were freaking out in the writers' room that he had to get his last point in before I pinned him as a pacifist.
There are no writers for this stuff, Jake Al, because look, everybody on cable news is singing from the same hymnal and following the same script. They're all beating the drums of war. There's only one critique right now, which is we're not doing enough and we're being weak and Biden needs to do more.
We're not being weak.
I agree.
Having patience is not being weak.
We are doing a lot. We're doing a lot. And we should be careful.
De-escalation is the opposite of weak.
These economic sanctions are real. We have to follow through. And I think we have to make sure that the economy is supported while we do it.